Welcome to Market Movers, where we identify market-moving headlines and then discuss ways to either hedge risk or create exposure in affected assets. We have Scott Martin.
Hi, Jim.
So, Scott, the biggest headline of this week, we're going to hear from the FOMC. We're seeing big tech earnings, and there's more rumblings of shutdowns and potential quarantine rules from some Midwest states. What's the biggest?
Jim, I think it's tech week and tech earnings, just because the NASDAQ has been the strongest index of the year, and it's been the kind of leader on the upside, and recently somewhat of a leader on the downside. So as we approach a big week like this with respect to tech earnings, I think the news that comes out of there that's both reflective of the past quarter and maybe more indicative of quarters to come is really what investors and traders are waiting for.
So we're looking at the last 10 days. To me, and you mentioned the whole year, and I agree, the last 10 days, it seemed like NASDAQ lost its leadership role. Was that just because of the shadow of the big tech earnings, where we are going to evaluate whether or not the crown we put on their head is they are worthy of?
Yes, just relatively, I think selling on the news type of situations that are to be understood when you've had such a big move in a lot of these names. And when I think that sets up, though, is an interesting scenario where good news, or let's just say better than expected news that comes out from here, Jim, that could come out of the tech sector in the next week or so, could actually be even better received or more well received than it would have if there hadn't been a sell-off coming in.
I kind of agree with that. So anyway, expressing exposure in different sectors and rotations, the CME has the mini contracts in Dow, Russell, S&P, and NASDAQ. They also have micro contracts in each. They have weekly, monthly, and quarterly options. And starting August 30th, Sunday night, they're offering micro options contracts in the highly successful S&P micro and the NASDAQ micro. On to question number 2. Goldman, some other rumblings have been going on. They said something that kind of questioned accommodative policy and its effect on the dollar. And perhaps going forward, maybe something bad happening to the dollar and its status as the world's dominant currency. You think that's a real worry?
I mean, a lot of people have been saying that for 10 plus years since the financial crisis. I mean, the Fed has been very accommodative, and frankly, the Treasury Department to some degree has as well. So look, this is a little bit of a tired old story. I do think that there have been chances over the last several years that the Fed could have been less accommodative and maybe more strict, and the same thing with the government. But the reality is the fact that we are in a recession right now. We're in a global pandemic. There's economic stress everywhere you look. And if there was a time to be accommodative, it's now.
But the euro has shot higher. So the market's definitely telling me that they think they're further along in coming out of the pandemic than we are. And I think that's something to notice too. And the CME offers highly liquid FX contracts and micros in all the world's leading currencies, including weekly, monthly, and quarterly options. Okay, gold and silver this week have been wildly volatile. And this kind of is a little bit about the last question I asked about the dollar. The fact that you see some volatility and they traded off so hard 2 nights ago, do you think their move higher is over or taking a breather?
No, I just think it's starting to get a little bit more crowded. And that happens when gold and silver start showing up in the news every day. I mean, when we were talking about it on Market Movers, Jim, 6, 8, 12 months ago, gold really wasn't a thought for a lot of investor or trader portfolios. And now you really can't go anywhere without hearing about it. So as the trade becomes more popular, as it gets a little bit more focused, that's when I believe the volatility ticks up. But just given the fact that, as we talked about, the stimulus is going to keep on going here, I think that's what supports the metals.
By the way, fabulous point there that people miss a lot is that a lot of times volatile moves like that are based on market position, not change of the fundamentals. For those of you looking at gold and silver, the CME offers the big contract in both gold and silver, micros in both, and liquid weekly and monthly options in those as well. Thank you for joining us on Market Movers, where we are helping to make you a better trader.